Awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, when you guys, when you reached out while I was at GDQ and brought up the opportunity, I was really excited for it. I thought it was a really cool way to maybe just kind of bridge the gap a little bit and just kind of talk about speedrunning with people. So
Yeah, because that's the main thing, with the game itself, is that we wanted to make speedrunning available to the casual player, basically, with the speedrun mode and all that stuff. So having the chance to, share your experience with all the rest of our fans is pretty awesome. It's a cool opportunity for us as well.
awesome. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So yeah, I guess when if you're ready, we'll go ahead and do the interview.
Sure. So basically, I've sent you a bit of the questions last time, so
Yep.
it will be basically the same questions, and we can just go from there. Just as a discussion flows, basically. So, and for myself, I will just try to basically. Will your VOD be available after this? Because I will put it in the text format for my blog post for my audience as well, for the Bishop Game fans.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking that once we're done with the interview, I'm gonna go ahead and just try to, if I can, do some light editing to add the questions over it, just for visual aid, and then I'll more than likely be publishing that to my YouTube channel. So
Cool. Yeah, I will. I will probably wait for that as well and include the YouTube link in the blog post, so at least also people can go check your channel and stuff like that while they read the interview. So
yeah, that would be fantastic. I would appreciate that.
cool. So let's get started, I guess.
Okay, that sounds good.
Well, our first, the first thing if we go back to the beginning, right, when we learn about when we saw the GDQ schedule and saw that we were going to play Lightfall, we were really happy about it, obviously, but also a bit curious, how it all come to be. So can you just talk about how did you get to this point, and what was the process like, and just why and how you got to play Lightfall at GDQ?
Yeah. So it was kind of a thing where I randomly found Lightfall. Just looking online, I was a huge fan of platformers, and I ended up noticing that Lightfall was going to be released right around the time that I started looking for a new game. So it worked out really well. I built up a little history with it. At one point, I pushed for the world record and I got it, and that was exciting. And then fast forward a little bit, and AGDQ is coming up, and I'm like, I kind of want to submit a game. Like, it's kind of a big deal for a speedrunner to be featured at a large speedrunning marathon like that. And I was just like, I have to submit Lightfall. I've played so much of it. I've submitted in so many categories. I had to. So I did, and I thought that there was no way it would get accepted, and then it did, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And
is it like you can submit different runs, like any percent, or just also 100%? Like, is it one submission, or you can submit like different speedrun categories?
yeah, so it was one submission of Lightfall, but I could submit multiple categories.
Okay.
So what I did
Makes
was
sense.
I submitted normal any percent and hard any percent, and only one of them got accepted.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
So once you got the news, right? Once you got, I'm guessing you got like a confirmation email and something like that. What was your first reaction when you got the news?
It was it was funny because they announced the time in advance. They said, around this time information would be coming out, and I'm just sitting here like on nails waiting for this information to come out. And I was so nervous, even though I thought there was no chance. And I kept refreshing the submission page to see what was happening. And one of the times that I refreshed it, I saw changes there where one of them got accepted and one of them got rejected. And I froze. Like, I was like, I don't know if this is real, because it seemed very odd. And And I guess just in the back of my head, I was like, there's no way it got accepted. Like, surely that's a rejection and somebody just clicked the wrong button or whatever. So I waited. And I waited a few
Yeah,
minutes.
I mean, I imagine that for speedrunners, the AGDQ is basically the Super Bowl equivalent, right? It's like the biggest thing and the biggest stage.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know another venue where you would have over 100,000 people watching you speedrun. It's surreal and scary and amazing all at the same time. So,
have you seen like a growth on your stream and channel since the event? Have you got like new followers and stuff like that?
I did get a surge of new followers from after the performance. A lot of people decided to follow just out of the blue. I've had people come into my streams since and just be like, "Hey, I saw your GDQ run and I figured I'd come check you out, and good job on the run." And I'm like, that's really cool. Like, I didn't think that would be a thing, and now that it is, it feels good to have people be like, "Hey, I enjoyed what you did. I want to support it more. Here I am." It's really great.
Talking about the run itself, what was it like? What was your emotions as you got on the chair and ready to start the run? And just the moment before starting the run, how were you feeling, basically?
I remember it clearly because we had to get there early. The stylist did up our makeup and got us ready and everything, and so we went onto the stage, and my couch commentary crew got on the couch. I sat down at the chair in front of the monitor, plugged in my controller. I knew the game was on there. I got that set up earlier, and I waited. And the next thing I remember is a headset being handed to me, and I just kind of like autopilot put it on, or just automatically put it on. And in that brief moment of the headset being on, everything hit me. Just like just that moment of quiet and just being like, "Oh my God, this is
it."
Yeah, this is actually about to happen, and I feel like I'm gonna explode.
Obviously, at the studio, we were all watching, the stream and waiting for you to come on stream, and we watched the whole run. And I was speaking in the chat, and first of all, I want to say that you did an amazing job explaining, the different subtleties of different levels of Lightfall and some tricks in speedrunning as you were playing, on biggest stage.
Thank you.
I was speaking in the chat, and I must say that. People really enjoyed your inputs, and the overall reaction was quite positive about your run. So, congrats on that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Overall, are you satisfied with the performance you did at GDQ? What's your feeling now, looking back?
So before we made the trip to GDQ, I sat there and said, okay, I know that this is a big deal. It's going to be a lot of pressure. I need to set my expectations to just kind of keep myself grounded. I need to have something to aim for those times where I'm kind of grasping a little bit and trying to figure out, how to pull it together. So I just kind of thought about it. I was like, okay, well, I have a personal best, like, right? Every speedrunner that runs a game has a personal best in the game. Yep. But that wasn't my goal. My goal was, what's a reasonable time that I can get to? Things might go wrong, and that's okay, but what's the time that is okay in my mind? And in my mind, I had set out for around a 25-ish minute time, in-game time. And that's what I got to. So for that reason, I'm pleased with how I did. I mean, there were some things I could have done better. You'll see one of them in the video right there. If you're watching the stream right now, it's the Miklon fight.
Yep,
I had a mishap there. Yep. And I had Palace gave me a little trouble. But overall, I mean, it was good, and I'm just glad that it didn't go horribly wrong.
Yeah, you did great, man. In all honesty.
Yeah.
If we go back to your let's say the origin of your passion for speedrun. What brought you into speedrun and into, let's say, oh, I want to be a speedrunner. So what was the click for you?
I don't know. There was it's funny because I think back to how I started speedrunning, and it was because of GDQ. I ended up seeing the Awesome Games Done Quick videos from 2013, and I saw a well-known speedrunner, Caleb Hart. I saw him run a Mega Man game, and I'm a huge Mega Man fan. I love the series. And I thought to myself, I was like, that's really cool. I feel like I'm not going to be great at it, but I would love to kind of be able to do some of that. And that's what got me into it, and just like replaying a lot of the games that I enjoyed as a kid, and just getting to come back to them and getting to try to master them. It was a lot of fun. And then from there, I kept with it. I kept watching videos. I kept learning about games. I kept going back to games I'd played before and thinking about, would I like to speedrun this? And it just went from there.
That's cool. And that brings me to my next question. Like, other than Lightfall, what other games do you usually speedrun?
A lot of people know me probably for two games that I really enjoy speedrunning. One of them is one that I've been running for a year and a half or more, and that's The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. It's a fantastic game. It's my favorite game of all time. And then the second game would be Celeste. Celeste is a more recent one where it's another platformer that is just very rewarding to play through, and I've been enjoying playing it. People have been enjoying watching it, and so I've been spending a lot of time with it recently.
It's definitely an amazing game. If we talk more about speedrun now, speedrun has many categories. You have 80%, 100%, glitchless, with glitches. Is there any favorite category for you to compete in, or a more rewarding one, or it doesn't really matter?
Just to call back out Link to the Past, some people know that I am a big fan of the glitches in that game. And so I tend to lean towards more glitched categories when it's an option, but I'm a little bit of a purist when it comes to glitches too. I think that if you're gonna follow a glitch category in a game, I kind of want it to stick a little close to the formula that the game originally intended. I feel like the glitches should accentuate what the game was originally going to deliver, and not necessarily skip huge parts of it and take away from the experience. But other than that, I would say 80% is probably my favorite. 100% tends to be a little drawn out in some games, so 80% is kind of just the typical let's see how fast we can beat it category.
Yeah, that's also the most popular one, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, yeah. Lightfall 80% normal has the most submissions out of all of them.
Yeah. A lot of people, myself included, really enjoy watching speedrunners, but are sometimes put off from the difficulty of such a discipline. So, what would you say to someone that would be maybe interested in speedrunning, but is afraid of its inherent difficulty, like all the things to master and all the glitches to learn and stuff like that?
The first thing I would say is don't expect to learn it all quickly, because nobody ever does. And the second thing I would say is I feel like the only difference between someone who currently does speedrunning and someone who doesn't do speedrunning yet is that the speedrunner is willing to fail. They're willing to be bad at a game until they get better at it. And that's all you have to be able to do. Most speedrunners start by picking a game that they enjoy. And speedrunners will always tell you, pick a game that you could play over and over again, because you're going to see it a lot. And so that's how you start. You pick a game that you enjoy, and you just give it a shot. And if some tricks are too hard, then skip them and come back to them, and that's okay. Your time isn't going to be competitive out of the gates, so just give it a shot and see where it goes.
Is there any types of games that you think that are not, good for speedruns? Like we see speedruns of all kind of games basically nowadays, but is there any style that you're not really a fan of?
I feel like, not to call out the style, but I guess visual novels would probably be the least exciting form of a speedrun, because you kind of really know what's going to happen. Puzzle games are actually usually pretty entertaining, because the person doing the puzzle game speedrun has to have some mastery of the game to begin with. So
yeah. Now let's say let's put you on the developer spot for these questions. We try to make speedrun really accessible to most players with Lightfall, with the speedrun mode. You are one of the greatest speedrunners of Lightfall, so do you think we have succeeded with the speedrun mode? And if you were a dev back, on the team back in the day, any changes or things you will have done differently for the speedrun mode?
I feel like in the current state, it is very enjoyable and welcoming to speedrunners. I think when the game first came out, there were a couple rough edges that did get worked out. And that was just an example of great communication between the speedrunning community and the developers. That first major patch that adjusted the boss fight and changed how some of the RNG worked in the speedrun mode, so that some of these sequences were predictable. And just like minor tweaks here and there, it made it an overall better experience. And I don't feel like speedrunners are too picky when it comes to a speedrun mode for a game. There are a lot of games that get speedrun that don't have it. But I feel like the dev team did really well with it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
lastly, if it's more for fans, if some of our fans will be interested in seeing more of you, any way to describe yourself as a streamer, as a speedrunner, and what are your plans for the future of your stream?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you already know my name. It's in the interview a couple times. But I've been streaming on Twitch for a little over a year. I'm actually, this weekend, I'm getting ready to celebrate my year anniversary of streaming with a variety of speedruns. So I feel like people will enjoy that. And yeah, Twitch is the best place to find me. I'm always on Tuesday and Wednesday nights and Saturday and Sunday mornings. And I try to go between a couple speed games just to kind of keep it exciting. And yeah, that's a lot of it. Other than that, I like to talk gaming on Twitch or on Twitter and Discord. So.
And is there any upcoming games that you are looking forward to speedrun?
Yes, I actually, there's a large-scale event called the 12-Hour Challenge, and a lot of speedrunners are familiar with it because the 12-Hour Challenge is a event that everybody does together to learn a brand new speed game to them within a 12-hour time frame. So. Wow. Yeah, from start to finish, you have 12 hours from the time you start learning the game to the time that you finish and learn it. So the game that I picked is going to be Hollow Knight. It's going to be my first foray into. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I've been enjoying it casually, and it's the first one that I'm going to do in the Metroidvania series of games or genre of games. So I'm looking forward to it a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Hollow Knight, I also had a great fun with it. It's a nice mix of like a platformer and Dark Souls, or some bosses fight in there. So yeah. I wish you luck for this speedrun, man. And
thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was fun to drop by and just chat about this cool event and the way you showcase Lightfall to the world at the AGDQ.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really an honor. It was amazing to get to experience that and to get to share that with people, and I hope that this helps to get more people into speedrunning, because we could always use more competition.
That's right.
All right.
All right. So I guess that covers the most of it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Awesome.
So thanks for having me once again, and have a good night. And thanks for all the people in the chat that came by for this cool interview.
Oh yeah, for sure. And thank you for being here. Thank you for having me for the interview. And yeah, have a good rest of your night.
All right. Talk to you later, man.
All right.
Thanks.